Right now, there are people in your organization who are less qualified than you, doing less work than you, and getting paid more and promoted faster and headed for more opportunities. It's not luck. It's not politics. It's one habit you probably don't have yet. Hi, my name is Eddie. I've been an IT project manager for over 8+ years. I've worked remotely across multiple different countries, including Mexico, Colombia, Peru, and Argentina. And I've built a career on my own terms while working remotely. And I've even made over $300,000 in a single year working multiple contracts simultaneously. Now, none of that happened because someone noticed me and decided to reward me. It happened because I learned the hard way that you get what you ask for, not what you deserve. Here's what most people do in their careers. They work hard, they hit their numbers, they show up, do the job well, and then they wait. They wait for their manager to notice them. They wait for the right moment. They wait for someone to tap them on the shoulder and say, hey, you've earned this. That moment rarely comes. And the longer they wait, the more confused and frustrated they get. Because from where they're standing, they're doing everything right. They're performing, they're reliable, they deserve more. And they do. But deserving something and getting something are two completely different things. The workplace isn't keeping score. There's no system in the background tracking your effort and timing your promotion. Most managers are busy. They have their own pressures, their own priorities, their own problems to solve. They're not spending their time, their free time, thinking about who on their team hasn't been rewarded lately. They respond to whoever is in front of them. And if you're not in front of them, then someone else is. So the shift I'm talking about isn't about being aggressive or political or constantly self-promoting. It's actually something much more simpler. It's about being explicit. Most people operate on an implicit assumption that the people above them can see their effort, understand their ambitions, and will act on it when the time is right. That assumption is almost never true. Your manager doesn't know you want the promotion unless you tell them. They don't know you want more responsibility unless you ask for it. They don't know you're thinking about leaving unless something forces the conversation. People are not mind readers, and in busy organizations, the default is nothing changes unless someone pushes for it. The people who move faster in their careers are not always the most talented. They're simply the ones who make their intentions known, who have direct conversations with their managers, who ask the questions most people are too uncomfortable to ask. They understand the answer to an unasked question is always no. Not because anyone is trying to hold them back, but because nobody knew to say yes. A lot of people here just ask for what you want and immediately think, oh, well, that's not who I am. It's not my personality. They picture someone pushy, overly confident, the person who talks too much in meetings and makes everything about themselves. And that's not what this is. Asking for what you want is simply a skill. And like any skill, it gets easier the more you practice it. It starts with simply knowing what you actually want. Most people are very vague about this. They have a general feeling that they want more money, more responsibility, a better title, but they've never actually sat down and gotten specific about it. You can't ask for something you haven't defined yet. Once you're clear on what you actually want, then the conversation becomes straightforward. You're not begging or complaining anymore. You're telling someone directly, hey, here's where I am. Here's where I want to go. What does that path look like from your perspective? That's a professional conversation, and most managers will respect you for it. The discomfort you feel before having it is almost always worse than the conversation itself. When you choose not to ask, you're still making a choice. A lot of people don't think about it that way. They see not asking as neutral, as simply waiting for the right moment or not wanting to rock the boat or being patient. But silence has a cost as well. See, every month you don't have a conversation about your salary is a month you're implicitly agreeing to your current one. Every time an opportunity comes up and you don't put your name in it, you've made a decision. You've made it passively. The people moving past you aren't necessarily working harder or performing better. They're just making their intentions known while you're waiting for yours to be discovered. There's also something else that happens when you stay silent for too long. Resentment builds. You start feeling overlooked, undervalued, like the organization doesn't see the value that you bring in. And the frustrating part is that feeling is completely avoidable because in most cases, nobody was trying to overlook you. They just didn't know. The moment you make your intentions explicit, the dynamic changes. Now your manager knows what you're working towards. Now there's a conversation on the table instead of an assumption floating in your head. That's a better position to be in every time. One of the main reasons people don't ask is the fear of the answer. They don't ask for a raise because, well, what if they say no? They don't go for the promotion because what if they're told they're not ready yet? Or they don't pitch the idea because what if nobody believes in it or nobody responds to it? So they protect themselves by never asking. and they frame it as being strategic or waiting for the right time or not wanting to seem desperate. But here's what actually happens when you ask and the answer is no. You learn something. Maybe you find out there's a specific gap that you need to close before you're considered for that role. And now you know what to work on. Maybe you find out the budget isn't there right now, but the conversation is on record for next quarter. Maybe you find out your manager sees your career differently than you do. And that's useful information to have sooner rather than later. A no is not a dead end. It's just a data point. And in most cases, the act of asking, even when the answer isn't what you wanted, shows something to people about you. It signals that you're intentional, that you know where you're going, that you're not just filling a seat. And that impression matters a lot, even when the answer is no. So everything we've talked about so far has been framed around careers, but this habit extends much farther than that. The same dynamic plays out in every area of life where you want something from another person. You want better service, but most people don't ask. They just kind of accept what they get. You want a discount, a better rate, a different arrangement, but most people assume that the number they've been given is fixed. You want more from a relationship, a partnership, or collaboration. Most people hint at it and hope the other person picks up on it. The people who consistently get better outcomes in all of these situations aren't luckier or more charming. They just ask directly. They make the request clear. They don't make the other person guess. It feels uncomfortable at first because most of us were taught not to do this. We were taught to be grateful for what we have, not to push for more, to be polite, not to seem greedy, or to simply wait our turn. Those instincts aren't wrong in every context, but applied too broadly, they actually become a ceiling. At some point, you have to decide, are you going to keep waiting for things to come to you, or are you going to take action and start going after them? Here's a quick story from early on in my career. I was working in sales, cell phone plans, cable packages, that kind of environment. It was a high volume, competitive sales floor type of environment. We were tracking our numbers. My numbers were pretty good consistently month over month. And I was actually near the top in terms of sales. I wasn't too loud about it, but I just assumed that if I kept doing my work and assumed the performance would kind of speak for itself, and that at some point someone would notice and do something about it and give me a raise or promote me. And so I just remember I took a vacation for 2 weeks after having been the top salesman for a few months. And I came back feeling ready, good to go. And meanwhile, I found out that while I was gone, a colleague of mine had actually been promoted to assistant manager. Of course, I knew the guy. He was decent at his job, but his numbers were nowhere close to mine in terms of sales. I was definitely the better salesman. And, at first I didn't see anything. I just kind of sat with it. And I tried to make sense of it in my head. Why did he get it? Why did I get it? And eventually I actually went to my manager and I told her hey, why didn't you give me the job? Why did you give it to him? My numbers are better. And her answer was short and sweet. She's like, hey, you weren't knocking at my door. He was. And so that's kind of when I learned that you don't get what you deserve. You get what you ask for. He had been coming to her regularly saying, hey, he wants more responsibility. He was making his intentions clear and he was interested in moving up, while I had just been sitting at my desk putting up numbers and waiting for someone else to connect the dots for me. Nobody connected the dots. And from that point on, I made the decision that I would never again assume my performance alone was enough. If I wanted something, I would have to go out and ask for it directly, clearly, without waiting for permission to have that conversation. And so that single shift changed the trajectory of kind of everything that came afterwards for me. So 3 things to take away for yourself from this video. So number 1, you need to get specific about what is it that you want. Is it a title, a number, a responsibility, an opportunity? You have to make sure that you clearly know what you want, and then you have to go out and ask for it specifically. 2, have the conversation early. Don't wait until you're frustrated and underpaid and watching someone else get the thing that you wanted. Put your intentions on the table before resentment starts to build up. Most managers respond well to direct professional conversations about career goals. They just rarely ever hear them. And number 3, stop treating a no as a reason to stop. A no is a starting point for a better conversation. Ask what a realistic timeline for that thing would look like. Ask what the gap is. And the people who move forward fastest are not the ones who never hear no. They're the ones who know what to do when they hear a no, so that they can come back, and when they ask again, that they'll get a yes. So to sum up this video, you get what you ask for, not what you deserve. And that's not a cynical take on how the world works. It's just an accurate one. The people who figure this out early stop waiting, and they start moving. They have uncomfortable conversations, they make their intentions known, and they ask the questions and deal with whatever answer comes back. And over time, that habit compounds. More opportunities come up, more money shows up, more control over their actual career and where it goes, instead of just watching it unfold and hoping it lands somewhere good. The shot you don't take is always a miss. So ask for the thing, do it clearly, do it professionally, and do it before you think you're ready, because no one is coming to find you. No one is coming to save you. It's all up to you.